It always comes to this. More nice shit. Well there guys, back into another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off the new palm dots on my right palm here, mirroring the left palm dots. So we're done about 6-7 weeks ago now. So these are fully healed, and it took forever. Palm tattoos always do, so the same will be true here. I have one little spot that's a little angry. Strangely, one dot got kind of pissed off. It's not sore, but there's a noticeable kind of bend there where that spot is healing, and I don't know, got a little bit pissed off for some reason. That's very, very rare. I've never had a dot anywhere on any of my palms do that, but it's pretty funny, and it's probably because it's in a bendy spot naturally. So I thought I'd mention it just because it's a little bit peculiar, and I don't really have things happen like that very often. There's been no pain or difficulty living with it. It's just one of those quirky little things. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in tattooing, especially in different parts of your body where, you know, I don't think there's a lot of, you know, communication around funny healing or different things that go wrong with tattoos, or piercings for that matter. So I like to mention those things as they happen here. I also had a session prior to that last week where Alex and I redid my left knee. She's had her last full-time tattoo here at the shop now. Her last day was Saturday. She's got a few appointments here next month, September, but other than that, she's clearing out here. So yeah, we'll miss her at the shop, and I had a great last session with her. That second pass on my left knee with her went very, very well. And it's already healed up. It's mostly peeled. There's just a little bit of flaking to go yet, but it's 100% better. The kneecap could still use a little bit of love, as I expected, but that's knees and elbows anyway. But for 2 passes on that, it's pretty solid red now, and the yellow is a lot better as well. The lines were they were good as they were, so we didn't have to touch any of the lines up over the kneecap, which is pretty good. I mean, I actually expected them to take a little bit of wear and tear as well, but the lines were good on one, so just the color needed to be redone, and I'm thrilled to say that it looks 100% better, much like the Mind Flayer did, that she did on my right leg the week prior. The second passes, they look a little bit like third or fourth passes would pretty well anywhere else. My legs have been taking color really, really easily. So, and same as the white and black dog portrait that Terry did on my right thigh. Those tattoos have been going in like butter, and it's almost like there's no black there. Again, my legs were settled for 6 years before covering them with color and stuff. So, if you're wanting an easy ride there, doing tattoos over older black is easier than newer black, though as evidenced by things like my chest here, you can do it right away. This was only 6 weeks, and also my head when we originally covered it, it was a 3-week-old blackout when we originally did the thorns and the red over top of it. So you can cover blackout very, very quickly if you want, but you will have a easier time doing so if you wait for it to be settled in for a period of at least months, and then from there, the longer the better. Same thing for subsequent color passes. Like, people ask me all the time, how long in between passes of color? All that's required is 3 or 4 weeks, really. But the longer you wait, the more vibrant the next pass will be. So what would be ideal is to wait, you know, a couple months in between first and second pass, and then even longer in between second and third pass. For things like this, where this is a fairly small area anyway, and I don't mind hitting it, We may do as many as 4 passes on that, so I don't really care if those passes are spaced out in the most advantageous way, especially considering it's such a small spot that it's done in like less than 20 minutes. It'll just get lumped into other bigger projects or other small projects, and we'll make enough out of a session to do it. But if I was wanting this to be my maximum return on effort, I would probably wait. Now that we've done the first pass, I'd probably give it 2 or 3 months, whereas realistically I'm only going to give it 4 or 5 weeks. And I actually think that with as good as that is on one pass, considering the circumstances, even waiting just 4 or 5 weeks, I think the second pass is going to be dramatically better. But as I mentioned in a prior video, it's impossible to say just how much color is still in there, because just because we put a black layer over top of the many passes of color on black that were there prior, I would say that there was probably quite a bit of color still in the balance, and so some of those colors probably were more in there than it appeared. So I think that some of the color that we used over top of that black mixed with the pre-existing colors that were in the balance. I don't think that simply putting black into that wipes out everything. I think that there's a balance of all different things, and as I've said with my left arm, it's less like color on black and more like color on rainbow sludge. I've had pretty much every color used on me and extreme quantities of it, and then things like my forehead, for example, where these peaks have been 4 colors in the last year, and I'm confident that if we ran green over them tomorrow, they would turn green. Same thing, we could then wait another few weeks and we could probably turn them red. And it seems to me that there's zero limitation on that. And no, the skin hasn't changed. Like, that doesn't feel any different than it used to. Maybe if you get in there with a tattoo machine, you could maybe feel the difference tattooing it, but to the touch, it doesn't feel any different than it did. Whereas if you abuse someone's skin in a single session, you can fuck it up. I have some scar tissue in this arm here from the very first time I had it tattooed. I can still feel the lines from that, but I can't feel the lines from the rose that was done over top of God knows how many layers since. So for the people who wonder if your skin is going to be affected by this, or the texture of it will change with repeated layering, I get that question all the time. My answer is very simple on that. As long as you are doing the job technically well and you're not hurting the person every session, there is no necessary need to cause scar tissue. Scar tissue is primarily a result of poor technique or overwork. Pushing too far or having bad technique will cause scar tissue. But having proper technique and respecting the body per session, you don't really ever need to do that to someone. And that's how this is all possible. In the areas where I do have scar tissue, the ink doesn't take as well. For example, my right knuckles, those don't take very well. And that whole area has infection scarring from a terrible infection that I have made a few videos on this channel if you're interested. So anywhere that I've had heavy scarring, it doesn't color as well. The tattooers will know this, but heavy scarring doesn't take ink very well. So if I was to be heavily scarred everywhere, most of what we're doing here would be impossible. So I understand that people who don't know a whole lot about tattoos would probably assume that tattoos as a necessary evil will do scar tissue. That doesn't have to be the case. I think that people who do frequent long sessions with different artists every time, or different skill levels, you're more likely to get scar tissue that way, because when you're working with an artist repeatedly, they get to know your skin better, what it can put up with, how well it takes ink, how it heals, all of this stuff. They learn the medium more comfortably working with you, rather than dropping in on random artists every time who have different technique, different skill levels, and then not knowing your skin individually, and everyone's skin is a little different. That's how you're more likely to get scar tissue. So if you have an artist that does a good job and doesn't fuck you up every time, consider sticking with them and not hopping around so much. We see a lot of people that they hop from artist to artist, and they're more typically going to have scar tissue or other problems than people who find an artist that does a good job and kind of stay faithful to them. With that said, I had a session last week with Rick on my left sleeve ongoing. That was session 106. Today I had session 107, and I don't need to talk about that up front because you guys will have already seen the thumbnail. But it was another good session, I want to say, but we did a lot of bouncing around. We got the thing that I primarily wanted to do this session done pretty quick. We have to come up here and build all this off of it, but you can see healed versus fresh. These colors are doing a great job, and it's not because of the colors we're using, it's because of the restrained palette, which I talked about last time. Rick again set up with only 6 ink caps this time. It was 5 last time, but he just had 1 extra Panthera black, and just going in and really just using a very restrained color palette. And you can still get detail in there, but you need bigger chunks of each color. I still think that this red is maybe a little bit too small. Reddy pink. It's actually pink. It goes in looking red, but that's actually a combination of lemon drop orange and flaming pink. So when it heals, it goes more to this pink color. But that is by far the most vivid that's ever been. And all of that black and blue healed really well too. So it begins to have a little bit more definition in there. Same thing, Rick extended the black down here, but he didn't get all the blues in down there. The skin was a little bit finicky because he'd already been doing quite a bit. We went in through here and did a bit of this, so obviously we'll have to come back in through here. But again, that same pink, black, and blue that we have on the outside, that is going to be the palette for most of this now. And Rick is seeing that this method is working better. This healed really, really well. I'm very happy with that. So this is the happiest I've been. I know you guys will have heard me say that before, but I did tell him again today, look, this is my favorite sleeve I've had out of all of them. A lot of people love the rose sleeve. It's way too simple for me. That's not to say that I don't like it, but I've told you guys many times that the rose sleeve is done as a demo of possibilities over blackout, not necessarily because I wanted 4 big roses and that's it. My hand, my forearm, my ditch, and my outer bicep. This was done to prove a point and mission accomplished, and that's part of why there are a lot of people doing rose sleeves over black now. It was never to try and make the point that that's all that would work, but a lot of people, they see something that worked and they don't have a whole ton of originality or creativity, so they go, oh, well, that worked, so I'll do that myself. And I don't even knock that. It is what it is. Roses are a classic. I have fucking tons of them, obviously, and I had them in my old suit. They're just nice tattoos. But this is more my thing. Like, I like this sleeve more conceptually, and I think that because it was laid out well, reasonably well, some people still say they don't know what's going on with this sleeve. You're not gonna know what's going on with this sleeve. It's amorphous horror. If you Google Lovecraft monsters, you're gonna see that most of that shit is untattooable. It's mouths and teeth and fucking tentacles and maws and all kinds of random monster anatomy. That's all it is. It's not like a lion. It doesn't necessarily go A to B. You know, the thigh bone's not necessarily connected to the hip bone and such and such. It is meant to be a bit, just kind of, piece by piece. It's supposed to be amorphous horror, but we can get some structure in this. A big part of the issue is that the only thing that really connects everything in here is this arm is connected to the top, and going straight through this elbow that's been trouble the whole way has made it harder to see the connecting of it, or the connecting point of it. But the elbow is better than it's been before, and I think that by the time we get to it again with this very reduced color palette that Rick and I have got going now, I actually think that the elbow stands a pretty good shot. He has simplified it in this version, but we're going even bolder and simpler now. And now that I've got a little bit more input on the complexity level of this, I think that we can get it to a place where it's as loud. It maybe never be as punchy, but as loud in terms of the color play and contrast and the black ratio, that we can have a sleeve that potentially pops as much as the rose sleeve, even in such complicated, detailed subject matter. So I am pretty happy with the session overall. Next week we're going to be working on the forearm area, and again doing much the same, keeping a very simple color palette. Still interesting, but a lot less going on and a lot easier to kind of pick things out. So what I've noticed is this is a lot more striking from a distance done this way. So the goal is to get everything to that point. And everything was more readable the way we had it at the end of this last kind of 5 or 6 sessions, 7 or 8 sessions or whatever we did since we talked last. But it still isn't doing the striking from a distance thing that I wanted it to. So that's what we're doing now. Anyway, I will be talking to you guys here again in a few days. I have another session coming up with Terry. So yeah, I'll talk all about that and show off how this is healing then. Have a great day.